Welcome back, whisky fans. Time for another dram. Glenfarclas 15-year-old, bottled at 46% ABV. So this is a whisky that I've had before, but to be honest, when I'm looking for a heavily sherried Speyside style whisky, and I say Speyside style because I believe Glenfarclas is, I think it's technically a Speyside distillery, but they choose to put Highland on their labels generally. I think I'm right in saying that. But when I'm looking for that sort of heavily sherried whisky, I tend to give Glenfarclas a miss because, to be honest, I prefer Glendronach if I'm looking for something like that. Even the 12-year-old Glendronach, to my tastes, is just what I prefer. But Glenfarclas, everything I've had from them, is generally a very pleasant whisky, and I'm sure this one will be as well. So that's about what you expect. After the Makamura Vintersol yesterday, that was just such an odd experience. I'm glad to be firmly back into traditional Scotch territory. So that's just a really pleasant, reasonably heavily sherried Scotch whisky. So the nose on this one, there's something in there that reminds me a little bit of rum and raisin ice cream, which, has to be said, is something that I really like. But it's not the whole picture. The nose on this one, I'm also getting a little bit of a starchy, youthful, immature note. You can definitely tell that there's been quite a bit and quite some good sherry casks gone into this one. But peeking out from around that sherriedness, you've also got some really nice sweet vanilla notes. So I wonder if this is perhaps, I don't think it's a finished whisky. I think it's probably a vatting of a lot of sherry casks and some bourbon wood. There's also quite a bit of maltiness in there and some really nice sweet oak notes. Let's see how it tastes. What I will say is that I think the palate on this Glenfarclas 15 is much better. It's head and shoulders above any aspect of the nose. To nose this whisky, it's not anything too special, but the palate is just such a wonderful surprise. In the same way as I've said before, that a lot of the time when I taste a whisky at 40%, quite often it'll have a nice nose, and the palate is just a huge disappointment. This is really the reverse, and this is bottled at 46%, so that makes sense. But the nose it just lulls you into a false sense of disappointment, and then the palate just steams in. It just exceeds all of your expectations by 10 times. It's really nice on the palate. So on the palate, to start with, I'm getting some nice notes of sweet vanilla, and then that's almost immediately replaced by some really nice sweet fizzy sherry and red fruit notes. And over time, that sherry influence merges seamlessly into a really nice oily maltiness on the late palate. So I'm talking about notes that you only get from having quite a few years in the cask. I was actually going to say that the nose from this one, I think I might have said actually, the nose seems a little bit immature, maybe even less than 15 years old, which I'm sure it's not. But the palate is the absolute opposite. The palate actually seems at least 5 years older than what you get on the nose. And what I really like about the palate on this one is it has a wonderful progression. So you start off with those really nice American oak notes, sort of vanilla, and then that merges into the sherry notes, and then that merges into the maltiness. I really like whiskies that are complex, and I like whiskies that change over time, and things that give you a progression, a journey as you taste them. I I think that's one of the hallmarks of a really well matured whisky, and that's definitely what you're getting with this Glenfarclas 15. So Glenfarclas 15, where do you feature in our leaderboard? Well, I don't think I can put it above the Uncle Nearest. I did like that quite a lot. I think it's going to be around about the Balvenie mark. Perhaps between the Balvenie and the Darkness. Glenfarclas 15 has, for now, secured a place in the top 10. Very respectable. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Glenfarclas 15. Thanks for watching. Cheers.